Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's Eric with American Business Systems. I want to welcome you to the webinar this week. I've been telling you about this webinar for the last probably 3 to 4 weeks, and you're going to enjoy our conversation with Tim Warren. Tim, this is starting to add up here, brother. We got some folks already piling in, so this is great to have you on. I'm going to go through a little bit of introduction for everybody as you pretty much, if you've been on our webinars before, you know I kind of go through a little bit of an introduction of who we are and a little bit about American Business Systems and the leadership group here, and then we'll get right on into our live discussion with Tim Warren. But anyway, my name is Eric Auger. I'll be your host this afternoon. I'm the Director of Learning and Engagement, and which means I'm just here to help you learn about the business and get engaged with us here at American Business Systems. I've been with ABS going on, Tim, can you, 18 years.
Hard to believe, man.
God, that's why that picture looks a little bit younger than I look now. And you'll see another one from Tim and me a little bit later of us. Actually, I don't think we hardly had any gray hair, but folks, what I want you to do for me is if you'll just type in, find the Q&A box, just type in, tell me where you're calling in from this afternoon. I'd like to kind of talk with you and make sure that you're hearing me. But more importantly, what I want you to do today, even though that we have some slides that we'll put up here, and we'll talk a little bit about the history of Tim Warren and what he's done and how he's been a part of ABS. We want to hear questions from you. So I'm going to be monitoring the Q&A box. So I'd like for everybody, Farley and Fred and Greg and Janice and Latanya, everybody that I can see here, put in your location where you're calling in me from. So I see Janice is from St. Louis. Milton is from Dallas. Good to see you. And Matt's from Austin. Fred's calling in from North Carolina. Good to see you, everybody. I know there's some more out there, so here comes more. Greg's from California. Good to see you, sir. Appreciate you popping in there. There's some more that are there, but at least everybody that typed in something, you know where the Q&A box is, so I want you to make sure that you give us some questions this afternoon. You can pour it on us to this week. I want to show you something that's new that's come out. Adam Phillips is part of the editorial board of an organization called the Billing Coding Advantage magazine. You can certainly go there and check him out. There's a profile of him there. They have a little bit of a bio of him and how long he's been with American Business Systems and how he's co-authored a book there, 9 Ways Doctors Let Money Slip Through Their Fingers, here's a copy of that. But I just found out that with this article that he already has currently in the magazine, he's got another one that's coming out shortly. So this one right here, if you'd like to, get back with your sales rep that you're working with here at American Business Systems, and we can get you a copy of that. It's like Latanya's from Indiana. Good to see you. And Chimwamwi, hope I said your name correctly, out of Maryland. So good to have you here this afternoon. All righty. He is also the founder, Adam's the founder of an organization called MERMA. Now, MERMA is the Medical Revenue Management Association of America. It is this organization that you will be a part of upon completion of your training here, because you need to be a part of an organization. And so once you get through with training, it is this group here that will actually offer you your completed certification as a certified medical revenue manager. You can carry that logo on all of your marketing material. I'm sure Tim can talk a little bit about how all that works there, but we want to also, again, just welcome everybody. We've got a good crowd here, Tim. So, you know, brother, it is so good to see you. And what y'all don't know is on the back side of this, Tim and I were just kind of catching up, and Tim says, Eric, I think it's time to start the webinar. I went, oh, yeah, yep, here we go. So we were just
we needed to do a little bit of catching up. We
absolutely outside of a webinar here. So it's good to see you, Tim. Good to have you on here this afternoon.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah. All right. So again, I'm going to put this one screen up here because I want everybody to remember to ask your questions, but I'll keep coming back to this. So I'll remind you as you kind of go through here. But Tim, gosh, you and I go back a long way, and I want you to kind of just tell your story, where you and this beautiful woman that's next beside you, the other guy that's next beside you is our founder, which we certainly do miss. We lost Patrick, gosh, it's been over a year ago. But boy, you and I have learned a lot from Patrick, didn't we?
Oh, Everything that I know about doing the medical billing business itself, I can safely say I've learned from you, Adam, and Patrick. So,
Yeah. Well, that's pretty cool. So let me now tell us your story real quickly. Kind of give us from where you started, and
sure.
I'm sure all of your lengthy background in medical billing. Because
My
people are on here going, do I have to have knowledge of healthcare and medical billing and codes to get this business started?
You do not. That lovely woman there is my wife, Robin. And when I met her and married her, she was working as an executive assistant for the CEO of a company that owned and operated outpatient surgery centers. And so she had a little bit of that, had no background in billing, knew nothing about that. uh, I, right out of college, I started touring as a traveling musician, and I did that for a living for about 5 years, and then I wound up working music retail and music stores, and then I got a job with a manufacturer of guitars and drums and sound systems and that sort of thing. So I worked in that for a good 20, 25 years.
Wow.
Um, and then I hung up my shingle in 2007 and started my own independent rep firm for
Hmm.
music companies that did not have a sales force. And I had staff all over the country and that sort of thing. And then 2008 happened.
Yeah.
And it was not the most fun thing that I've ever been through. So what we did is that we immediately started thinking, okay, we've got to do something that's less affected by market pressures and
Yes.
and the economy.
Right.
And so we started looking around, and I just like accidentally fell into looking at that in 2009, I
Wow.
think.
Yeah. Wow.
And it was if you're out there, I've probably been in your shoes, and the thing that I kept saying to myself, this looks too good to be true. This looks too
Hmm.
good to be true. And so, when something looks too good to be true, it usually is. And in this, I postponed it. I kept putting it off, and so we didn't actually sign with ABS until 2012. And in 2012, I started wondering, why did we wait 3 years to do this?
Right.
Because immediately we started getting traction. It did take me a while to get the first client because I was not working the plan the way that I was taught in
Sure.
training, and so I had to completely reinvent myself and stop being a sales guy
Yeah.
and be more of a consultative consultant.
Right.
And when I started doing it the right way, then everything just sort of fell into place, and we got our first client, and just never looked back from there.
Yeah. Tim, often I
And
talk
we've
to,
been doing that since 2012. So,
well, and you've been at it and still at it because you've got up there in your corner of your screen there, your name of your company there. So you're
mhm.
still actively doing medical billing.
Yes.
Yep. So you and your wife are still doing that. And so you started in 2012, back in 2009. Who was you remember your sales rep back then?
Oh, yeah, it was Adam.
Adam. So
Adam was actually working with the sales team back then, and he was my
yeah,
sales guy. So
yeah. So it took him a little bit of time to get you on board.
he was, I couldn't have asked for a better partner in trying to go through that journey together,
Sure.
because I was so skeptical.
Mhm.
And he would just make a point about every 6 to 8 months. I would hear from him. He said, "Hey, I just want to check on you, see if you're doing okay, see how things are going."
Right.
And by 2012, I was ready for this,
Sure.
and he just happened to call me on the right day at the right time, I guess, and just asked. And I said, "I'm glad you called. We need to talk." And
So what do
so,
you think your biggest fears were in that three-year period there from pulling the trigger back in 2009.
Well, in 2008, the things went south pretty quickly in the economy.
Sure.
And when you're a road rep,
Yes.
then the price of gas matters.
Yeah.
And so I was paying for everybody's gas. So, it really took some time to do anything better than break even.
Sure.
And there were several months that we were not making money with the rep firm. And so I just had done a lot of reading. Adam was kind enough to give me some resources to check out that sort of thing and let me make my decisions on my time.
Yeah.
And so I was so ready by the time that we actually pulled the trigger and went to training.
Yeah.
So,
And if because I can remember we've been doing these webinars on Wednesday basis for as long as I can remember, right? You were,
mm-hmm.
I'm sure, set on some of the webinars back then as well.
Mm-hmm.
Not as glamorous as they are today, though.
No.
I mean, we were using GoToWebinar during that.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't clunky, but obviously we've kept up with technology and everything else is looking good and
Right.
smooth. So, all right, I'm going to remind everybody again. Let's make sure that if you've got any particular questions, I'm going to share that screen one more time so that you can see what that we're looking at here. I think I got that. There you go, guys. If y'all got any particular questions you'd like to ask Tim on getting, how he got his business started, what was his challenges, because Tim, right now, and we're going to move into that in just a minute, but you do take calls outside of the webinar and the
Oh, yeah.
people that are looking possibly to get into this business. So, because I remind everybody, hey, we've got people who would love to chat with you who are current business owners, and you're one of those on that list.
Yes, I do still answer phone calls, and my schedule's fairly tight, but I try to make time for everyone that wants to have a conversation about it.
Yeah. Matt's got his first. We got a first question here, so I'm going to let Matt be the one that we get to ask this question for. He's asking, why is 2025 a good time to begin in this business?
Well, I think that a lot of things are going to change in healthcare, and one of the things that I believe is that they only make healthcare more complex every time
Hmm.
that they start redoing rules and that sort of thing. And I'm seeing more of an openness to outsource billing to a billing company because doctors just don't have time to keep on top of all the compliance, all the rules, all the things like that. They just want somebody to advise them and make sure they get paid.
Sure.
And I think that it's never been more true than right now that they are going to be experiencing some changes. The only constant is constant change
Sure.
in healthcare, and Medicare kind of rewrites their rules every quarter.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's not every rule, but I mean, they do change some of the ways that people have to send in claims, and they just recently changed something that really made a massive difference, especially to our demographic target practices, which is podiatry. We
Hmm.
just we didn't pick podiatry; it sort of picked us. But they've had some things that really made some changes to the way claims have to be filed for podiatrists.
Sure.
It's not across the board again,
Right.
but you can look like such a hero, such a subject matter expert by all you really have to do is just keep on those RSS feeds. So every time
Yeah.
something changes, believe me, the physicians don't stay on top of that like they could if they had time. And so we can be those valuable partners to people so that we can make sure that they don't get blindsided by a rule or
Yes.
regulation or a compliance issue.
Yeah. 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 And that's what's so great about what we have here at American Business Systems, because we've got a very layered and very in-depth support group here that can help you through this. That's why being a part of Myrma,
Mhm.
uh, we get to filter all that information directly to you. And there's some things that Tim will get in here too, just a little bit. Michael's not ashamed to ask you, you've been in this business for 13 years. How much money do you make?
Well,
Like you're gonna announce to the world how much money you actually make here, but it's a kind of a tongue in cheek here. I can almost see Michael laughing as he wrote that in there.
sure. Um, I make a comfortable living. I'll
There
just
you
leave it
go.
at that. My wife and I do well enough that we'll be able to walk away at some point in time
There you go.
when we're ready.
And you get to work from home.
We get to work from home. We've never had an office. We've
Yeah,
always worked from home. We have virtual employees that work from home as well.
yeah, yeah.
Um, we use some contractors and things like that, and it's a super profitable model.
Good.
So we don't have to have a ton of clients to
Yeah.
be to meet our goals. But we've had a very fortunate run. So sorry, I'm
Well,
not going to say exactly how much money I make, but
of
we do
course.
okay. So
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure Michael, if you want to have a little bit more in-depth conversation with Tim, he can probably let
sure.
you on some, how things. Now, this takes us back a few years. I mean, if people can look at the picture now
Can
on
can I
screen.
answer that question just a little differently?
Oh, well, sure. Yeah, go right
Okay.
ahead.
So Michael, what you can use as a rule of thumb
Yeah.
is that every doctor that you have as a client is generally going to be worth somewhere between $2,500 and $7,000 a month to you. Okay. So
Yeah.
it's going to depend on the specialties. It's going to depend on their volume. If it's a startup practice, if it's an established practice, that sort of thing. But if you're dealing with, a blend of both, most of those people are going to be worth personally to you, your company, $2,500 to $7,000 per month per provider, and that's what you can expect as far as a gross revenue.
Yeah. There you go. Michael says, thanks. That's very helpful. So that's perfect. Yep.
Sure.
Yeah, because what we haven't done, I haven't done a webinar in a while of kind of breaking down, profitability and what it looks
Hmm.
like and, cost of doing business. And I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to really kind of break it down here in the next few weeks. So we'll have something. So Michael, if you haven't joined us by then, stay tuned and we'll have some more information on that. Well, what I was going to say there is whenever we were just about to go to this one kind of dates you and me, kind of looking back. We look
Oh
like
yeah.
young kids back then, but this is at you're doing a conference, I believe it was, and it was with podiatry. So some people may not know what podiatry is. So just, let's just be open of what is podiatry.
Yeah, podiatry is basically foot doctors.
Okay.
So um, this particular one, where this picture was taken, we were at the statewide conference for Texas,
Yes,
and I think that was at Lake Conroe, wasn't
it
it?
was Lake Conroe. Mhm.
Yeah. So I was fortunate enough. I got an opportunity to speak to the entire group, and that was our booth. That's the old trade show booth.
Yeah.
That was a big lug, wasn't
That was a big lug.
it?
It was a big lug for sure.
Yeah, that was pretty heavy and that sort of thing. But we got to speak with a lot of different people. You know, going to conferences is not cheap,
Right.
but they were kind enough to offer us a booth because I was kind enough to speak and not charge them. And so we were able to work out a deal where I spoke to specifically all of the front office and back office workers, not the doctors directly, because I had a presentation to show them how to be efficient and effective as their support staff.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that's what I got hired to talk about.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
That's
there it is,
that's
right there.
is right there. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I had you keyed up, brother. It just, you were
I didn't
I
know
think
you still had those pictures. That's
I
great.
do, man. I do. I wouldn't let them go. So because it was a good moment. It was great because obviously at that point I was really, it was full time. A lot of what I was doing here at American Business Systems, and got a point, to where, um, working with you and some of the other business owners here at American Business Systems very directly, because we are always tweaking and we want to make sure that all of our marketing strategies are working. And you were kind enough to let me come and be a part of you and kind of see what was working, and passing out flyers and talking to people and making sure that they got the right
Mhm.
information. So it was great to see that these things work. Now, I'm gonna segue just a little bit, because
Sure.
obviously some people would not be very comfortable getting up in front of a group of people presenting. They may not, now they're probably thinking, gosh, to get my first client, I'm going to have to do a conference, and that's going to
Mhm.
be a little bit of a challenge. So Milton's putting here in his question, he goes, I have no experience in this business. Would that doctor want someone with experience before they work with me? Now I'm gonna prelude that a little bit, preface that a little bit, Milton, and I'm gonna let Tim take it from here. But one of the
Mhm.
things here at American Business Systems that we supply you is to help you become have a CEO mindset. So you are the owner of your company. You don't always have to be the sales rep, quote unquote, of your company, but you do need to be the leader of your company. And part of being that leader is the support, the training and support that you get from American Business Systems. So, Tim, kind of talk, because you said that you went from selling guitars, or singing, selling guitars, and then finally you ended up in the medical billing world. So you too you had no experience in healthcare.
None whatsoever. The only thing that I ever have done in healthcare is go to the doctor. That was about it. So,
But then you said
but
you were, because you had a marketing and sales background, you thought, okay, I've sold guitars. Gosh, I can probably sell this as well. But you found out that selling to doctors and selling to musicians, I'm sure
that's
they're
right.
they're polar opposite.
They are, and one of the things I found out is just it never be selling. All you're
There you
doing,
go.
you're a problem solver, and that's what people want to do is they want to work with problem solvers. They don't care if you're not the one doing the billing.
Yes.
If you've got a team in the background, if you hire somebody on a contract basis, if you have a spouse who's going to do that, if you have a son or a daughter that's going to work in the business, that sort of thing. It's not, I don't want anybody to think that you have to go to school to be a certified coder, a certified biller, that sort of thing. Up until the last about 8 months, we had never had a certified coder on staff. We had
Yeah.
never had a certified biller on staff.
Wow.
My wife took it upon herself to like really immerse herself, and she's been running our billing operations pretty much since the beginning of the year after we bought in.
Okay.
So she was working a regular job and doing the billing at night when we first started. And then when she was working at that time for Coca-Cola bottling, she was an executive assistant to the vice president of the division. And
Right.
it was a really good job with good benefits, good pay, and that sort of thing. And within the first, I'm going to say 8 months, we
Hmm.
were able to afford to bring her home and
Wow.
go full time in with that.
Well, that kind of helped
So
answer
she
Michael's
ran the
question earlier
billing
too.
operations by herself for probably another year.
Yeah. No, that's good. So, and again, that's why I like to really, um, Tim, I've made a real shift on how we talk on these webinars, and I'm looking as the list of people that are here today. I'm looking at these folks as, either they're already entrepreneurs, or they're probably in
Oh,
some
yeah.
type of leadership mentality, or already. And so, and if you've been in leadership before, it doesn't mean that you're doing all the work.
Mm-mm.
You've got the information, and you've got the staff, and you've got the support mechanisms behind you. And even though that you may enter into this as a single business owner of your own company, it's what comes with American
Right.
Business Systems that creates that back office world that can help you. And one of the first things, obviously, is getting their first client. So I'm looking at our clock. We're almost at the bottom of the hour. It's going by quickly. Let me see these other. Let's see. Fred's asking, what are the key performance indicators that we should focus on or be aware of in this business? That's a CEO question.
It is. Yeah, Fred, well, there are a lot of KPIs that you're going to want to track. The things that are important to the medical billing clients
Hmm.
is going to be, the first pass resolution. You want to be able to create a claim, send it through, it gets submitted to the payers, they turn it around and they send the money back. So your first pass would be how many of those go through that process without a hitch versus the ones that get kicked back and have to be reworked and things like that. So you want to keep your first pass resolution. You'd like to see that ultimately somewhere in the 98, 99% range, and that's absolutely doable.
Sure.
Um, and then you want to watch your net collected revenue, which is it should be 95% for a well-run practice. And of course, your efforts in that will help you. But
Hmm.
95% of the available reimbursement is being collected, then that's a very well run practice, a very well run billing operation.
Yeah.
And there are a handful of other things, like the days in AR before payment. You really
Hmm.
want to try to keep that under 45 days. Ideally, you want it as close to 30 days as you can get it.
Yeah.
And depending on the payer mix, it may be tougher for one practice than it is for the other.
Good. Got it.
So,
Uh,
but those are just a few. But if you want to have a conversation about it, I can go through a little bit more of an explanation on a phone call with you if you'd like.
there you go. All right, let's kind of make a quick transition, and because Observis is your business, yours and
Hmm.
Robin's business, and you're managing that. Fred said thanks for sharing. That was good the way that you
No
put that.
problem, Fred.
So let's talk about your other role. You're like king support here at ABS.
there is there is no king.
No, oh, that's right. No
There
king.
are no kings.
No kings. All right. So
Yeah,
tell
we're
us,
we're
what do
just
you,
we're
so what do
just
you,
good people trying to help everybody else. So that's all we are over here.
yeah.
So
So, but tell us about your role. Actually, you're in Robin's role here there at supported ABS.
sure. So we had built our business up to a pretty significant level. One of the things that is very consistently true for all of the people that become ABS business owners is that if you start building your business up, and I mean past 3 or 4 clients,
Hmm.
you suddenly get on everybody's radar and you're going to get weekly calls like, we'd like to buy your business. We'd like to buy your business.
Yeah.
And so it's real gratifying when that happens, but it gets kind of old because we had a business to keep building.
Sure.
So finally, we got an offer we couldn't refuse from a national billing company. We didn't sell our business. We sold our book of business, which was just the clients.
Sure.
And so we got a really nice residual income for that for another couple of years, plus the upfront. And so when our non-compete ran out, um, they it was probably within, I don't know, 2 months of the non-compete running out, we had already signed new clients and started the whole thing over again.
Sure.
So the thing that I really love about the ABS model is you can run it your way. You can turn it on or off as needed.
Sure.
and it really gives you something that you can reboot anytime you feel. It really worked out well for us.
Oh, it
So,
sounds like it, and it has. Yeah, you guys have
mhm.
been very successful,
But
and
when we sold that, it
yep,
just so happens that ABS had lost their head of support,
yes,
and it happened very quickly. Got an offer for another job and had to leave right away. So they asked me to fill in for a week. They asked me to fill in for one more week. Then they said, "Hey, can you stick around for a few years?"
yep.
And so that's where I've been. So I'm working in support. Robin didn't join us until 2 years ago, I think.
Okay.
But Robin is also, so what she does is for those people that have no background in billing, she helps everybody file their first claims, post their first payments, chase their first AR, do appeals, things like that, and helps business owners set up a proper workflow for
Yeah.
success.
Yeah, that's good. Well, and Matt's asking the question here, and kind of in line with all this, how does ABS give you a business give you as a business owner a differentiator in the market?
Well, I mean, with Myrma, you are a member of the largest network of certified medical revenue managers in the country.
Yeah,
And that's kind of a big deal.
yeah,
If you walk into a doctor's office and say, "Hey, I'm with ABS," they won't know what you're talking about. But if you walk in and say, I'm affiliated with Myrma,
yeah.
that's a whole different conversation.
Sure.
So Myrma is something that will help you build visibility and credibility for your
Yeah,
business, and that's what kind of sets it apart from any of the other, uh, offerings that are out there that I can find.
yeah, yeah. So it all starts though, obviously it starts with training, and I'm going to
Right.
kind of get back up over here and put some information back over here, and so we can kind of step through this. So training starts off. How long is training?
Well, generally, it used to be just a few days, and everybody had to go to Texas. But
Yes.
uh, it's flexible now. You get a one-to-one online training that they can go at your pace. Generally, most people can finish it in 2 to 4 weeks,
Yeah. And
because
in
most everybody that comes in is already working another job right now, and
sure.
so many times, and they have flexibility so that they can do it after hours at work.
And I think each one of those is about 90 minutes long. I think the 10
Mhm.
modules about 90
10
minutes
months.
long. So
Right.
Latanya's putting up here. I took a medical billing course and I failed the license exam. Can I still have the training? Of course you
Absolutely.
can. Listen, again, Latanya, you don't even need that because again, here's what I'm trying to help some move from a mindset of being an employee where you have to go through certifications and exams and stuff like that so that you get a job. This is not you're not creating a one-time job for one doctor. You're becoming a business owner in a revenue cycle management company that can support multi doctors and multi practices and different types of specialties out there that you can go after. And as Tim said, you could make anywhere from $2,600 a month per physician up to 7,000. So if you think about it, folks, roughly if you took that as an average, it's about 40 to 45, maybe $50,000 a year per practice. And then if you're wanting to make a certain amount, you're able to say, hey, if I want to make 150,000, you're going to need 2 to 3 doctors to be able to work through. So that's what you need to be thinking about here is you need to
I will share this with you also. We
yeah.
have one podiatry client that has 3 physicians. And we've been with them a little over a year now. And it's 3 podiatry there. They're in a good area of California. We've always had more clients in other states than we've had in our own backyard. But that one client right there generates over 5 figures a month in revenue for us.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
it can be done.
Hmm.
You know, as you develop your credibility and your skill set, that sort of thing, you're just going to get better and better clients.
Now, part of support, you can actually get live support. I'm right, Tim.
That's correct.
They can call. But tell us about the licensee support site, what it is, and what it's packed full of, and what they can get and expect
Sure.
both from live support and then obviously online support.
Sure. Well, the ABSLS, the support site that we're talking about is a full featured licensed business owner support site. And the ABS does business owner webinars, generally 2 or more a month. And they take some of our technology partners, will do them. When we come up with new marketing tools and that sort of thing, we'll do webinars on that now. And all of those are recorded and they are posted to the website for rewatching at a later date. So if you can't make it to the webinar, it's okay. We've got a recording of it. They have forms in order to like request live demos of things. We now have a corporate booking calendar for all of our support team.
Oh,
So
excellent.
you can schedule one-to-one meetings on via Zoom to go over whatever different types of information that you need. We find that most people they use this a lot in support when they're working their way to their first client. And as they start adding clients, we hear from them less and less simply
Yeah.
because once you've done it a couple of times, you kind of got the drill down and you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so, but we're always here if you should run into something. I just want to make a point that I don't get anything out of the phone calls. If you want to talk to me, you're talking to just a fellow business owner. That's how I will
Yes.
talk with you, not as a support guy or a sales guy or anything like that. I don't have anything to do with that.
Yeah, there you go. All right, and you've already mentioned this organization called MIRMA, and MIRMA
Mhm.
is obviously, the doctors don't know who American Business Systems is, and we don't want them to know who ABS
Right.
is. Part of that is, and this is why Adam started this and got this going probably a little over 10 years ago.
Hmm.
And so it is a pretty big organization here and supportive organization. And some of you may have heard some of the interviews I've had with Dr. Vicki Ratner. She's on the board of directors here for this organization here as well. So you're really supported on multi levels. That's what I was trying to say later earlier, was that you got live support, you've got online support, you got national support through American Business Systems. So I think we've got you covered there. So it looks like we've got well, about 10 more minutes and I'll start wrapping some things up here. So again, I want to make sure that everybody gets in their questions here. I wanted to put this back up, but as we do this, let's talk real quickly of a strategy, at least one of the strategies that is used, Tim, on getting people their first client. And as you mentioned
Sure.
earlier, just educating the doctors. And so one
Right.
of the things that Patrick and Dr. Vicki Rackner put together is this important book here. And I know we've talked about it in the past, but from coming from support and coming from yourself, and you've read through the book, you know what's in the book, the certain things that need to be read within the book. So let's talk real quickly about the importance of this, and then let's just kind of talk. What should some of these folks that are on the call today be thinking about, especially if they're going to join us, and how to start getting prepared to getting their first doctor.
Well, what you're going to do is be building credibility. You want to position yourself as subject matter expert, and we've got so many tools that we were given when we first started at ABS, and it's only gotten better
Yeah.
since Robin and I have been associated with the support team. Just in the last year, we've written 4 new ebooks to
Wow.
use to help um, get people interested in engaging with you, and you
Mhm.
can put them through. We actually, with each of the 4 ebooks, we've put together a sales guide, a marketing guide, and an email drip campaign that goes with it. And so all you're trying to do is just like nurture that thing along and not waste your time with people that are never going to be your clients.
Right.
And so the training team is doing a fantastic job of getting people prepared for that, and the support team's doing a really good job of helping people execute that.
Yeah. And I don't want to speak for you, but if one of the support mechanisms that support does help with, and that is really they learn how to market in training, but you actually help them kind of put some legs to it after.
That's right.
Okay.
We are definitely of the teach a man to fish camp. So
That, there is no doubt. Anthony's asking, are you worried about private doctors being bought out?
that's a great question, because I think that everything goes in cycles. And I remember having a moment that I felt like everybody worked for the hospital.
Yes. Yeah.
And almost everybody I talk to has been through that. But learning how to prospect
Hmm.
and learn the ones, and it's funny because all of those that I found that were working for the hospital 2 years later, they had had their fill of the hospital, said, I don't want to do this anymore. And they go
Right.
hang their shingle back out and start up a new practice or go
Yeah.
in with someone else. So it's never really over until it's over.
Sure.
We just know that big healthcare burns out doctors.
Yes.
And so I think there's always going to be a good opportunity for independently owned practices and for us to provide outsourced services for them.
Yeah, it's very fluid. It's fluid on that side where you got doctors that move in and out of group practices and
Hmm.
hospital practices and then back into independent practices. And then those independent practices, they've gone from having billers in their office to outsourcing to have
Yes.
billers back in their office. And so it's a very fluid market. That's probably one of the biggest things I've seen over the 18 years that I've been a part of this, of seeing doctors come in and out of this. So there's always a pool of doctors where they're looking at them as, if you hit one at the right time, that's for sure. You got one doctor that's kind of in between of either coming out of a practice and wanting to get
Right.
started back up, or they just had their biller quit on them and now they're trying to scramble, and all of a sudden, you hit them right at the right time, or you've been drip marking campaigning with some of the marketing techniques that we have here at ABS, and you've met
Right.
them and they go, oh no, I've already got my own biller, but you kept them in your
In your
loop.
loop.
Yep.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, their biller walks out on a Friday afternoon, and they're going, "Oh my goodness, what am I going to do with these stack of claims that hadn't been filed in 2 weeks?"
And that happens more frequently than you would imagine.
Yeah. So I think, to help bring the fear level down a little bit, and, how to get my first client, because obviously, there's an investment and people want to get
Hmm.
a return on their investment. And sometimes
Sure.
we let fear kind of drive us, and either A, not taking that step, or B, that we've taken that step and then we feel like we got to replenish that, that return on our investment like today.
Right.
Know that this is, part of, small business America, and most businesses don't even make a profit in their first 2 to 3 years. And we can certainly say that we see a lot of our new business owners get their return on investment within the first year with one doctor.
Yeah, and I can testify to that. But now it took me, because I did everything wrong to begin with, because I was being a sales guy. It took
Yeah.
me 8 months to sign my first client,
Hmm.
and I want to preface that for everyone. is that I spent 6 months doing everything wrong.
Right.
I went to training and I had had so much sales training prior. I just said, I've never done it that way before. I'm a good salesman. I can handle this. I got that sales part of it. And I was wrong. And so 6 months in, I didn't have a client. And so at that time, there was a guy named Casey that was in
Yeah.
support. And Casey said, okay, let's go down the list. Have you tried this? No. Have you tried this? No. Have you tried this? No. And he said, well, that's everything that you were trained in training. When we got to the end of this long list that I hadn't tried, because I was just doing things the way that I knew.
Yeah.
And so once he said, pick something and do
Yeah.
something different. And I picked networking.
Yeah.
And he said, here's all the stuff on that. Go try that. Just throw yourself into it. And in 2 months, I had my first client.
Yeah.
And so I learned my lesson there. And I tell everybody that story because it's like, it's not as hard as you think it is. It's
Sure.
like you have to just strategize, follow your plan, and then get that client. Once you've got one satisfied client, this is the most amazing word of mouth business I've ever been in.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
And so once you have one happy client, they can't stop telling their buddies, hey, you need to try my billing company.
Yes.
And that's
Yeah.
how it just blew up for us.
And that's what you want, because
That's right. And with that one doctor, we had one client, one doctor. We earned everything that we paid in back in less than a year off of that one client.
Yeah. Yeah. And Matt's kind of asking, his question is, what is your annual client retention rate?
Oh, I have to fire them.
Yeah. You've had to fire clients.
We've had to fire clients. Seriously. We just don't get fired. It's that what you'll wind up doing is that in the early days, we took on some clients that were not ideal clients. They had a lot of problems and that sort of thing. But when we started growing, we were able to take those people, and if they were not the best clients, then we would either sell them off or fire them.
Yeah. 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 Wow. All right, folks. I'm going to give you one last shot here. We're going to give you 2 to 3 minutes here to throw in some last minute questions here, because we're going to be wrapping up here in about 10 more minutes. Tim, kind of just give us, your best, elevator pitch, for American Business Systems, and, what they get here. So just kind of share your heart about who, the business, sure, and what people ought to be doing next.
Well, I can only speak from personal experience, but I feel like that I was taken in as part of a family from day one.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really thought that there were going to be so many licensees that we were going to be competing against one another. And I found that everybody is very supportive of one another.
Sure.
And we all are one big family. There's enough business out here that we'll never all collectively get to it all.
Right.
And I was nurtured by the people at like yourself and Patrick and Casey at the time, and everyone else that I've ever come in contact with has been outstanding to me and cared about me being successful. Mm-hmm. And we've tried to carry that on with the support team, and our training team feels the same way. Is everybody going to be successful with it? Probably not. But I mean, the one thing that you got to ask yourself, am I an entrepreneur? Am I willing to do what it takes, no matter what the situation is? Am I willing to be flexible and solve problems?
Sure.
And if you can say yes to all those things, there's absolutely a very high probability of you being successful with this.
Yeah.
The people that do not find success with this are almost always the ones that came in with no proper work ethic.
Yeah.
And anybody that has a drive within them to keep moving forward, those are the kind of people that are going to do very well with this. And my favorite thing about it is it allowed me to run the business the way that I saw fit.
Yeah.
Everybody's business can be a little bit differently, and that's one of the things that I've tried to do with people is help them develop strategy that makes sense to them.
Sure. When you were talking there at the beginning, I thought about, ABS's success has been the success of their business owners, just like yourself. ABS would not be as successful as it is unless we helped you become successful in your business.
Right.
And so that's what Tim's talking about here, folks. And folks, we've also been as transparent as possible. We don't believe everybody can make it in this business
No.
because it's just not the right fit, and we get it. And it's not that people don't have the right business mentality, but it's just like Tim said, you got to drive. And like Fred just said, he says yes, 2 exclamation points there, saying yes.
Yeah, I don't know what I don't know what I said to deserve that, but that was
about
awesome.
having a drive. And he shortly after you said that, he goes, yes, that's exactly correct. Because successful people spur on other successful people. And folks, if you've got a mentality to be a success and you want a success, and you just need a good vehicle to get you to that next level, healthcare is not going to go anywhere. This is why this industry is recession proof and tariff proof and and everything else proof.
I will never get over how we sailed through the whole COVID thing where everybody else was suffering. It was just like, if I look back at the other business that I had, it would have been over that day. Yeah. I was able to do so much. And just so everybody knows, I didn't sell that other business. I didn't close that other business. I was running that business alongside the ABS business, and I was able to sell it to the employees, and they took that company forward.
Yeah.
So we were able to subsidize the music company with the medical company, and then transfer the ownership over to the employees, and they're still going today.
Yeah, there you go.
So,
well, Tim, it is time for me to do my wrap up here. Thank you again for joining me.
My pleasure.
On the webinar. And folks, again, if you'd like to speak directly to Tim on not support, but on just, how to get involved and get started and what it's all going to take and some real live stories, Tim's available for you to schedule a call with him.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you, sir. I appreciate your time this afternoon. Tell Rob hello for us.
I will do that. I'll let you go, and you have a great one. Really good to see you again, my friend.
It's good to see you. And let's not do it just on webinar next time.
All right, let's do that.
Okay, man. See you later.